Hi guys, welcome to a brand new episode of The Real World of the Clintess. Today I'm literally in heaven. Why? Because I am in Meridiana Wine Estate and I am joined obviously by my crew and with the lovely Ingrid, who's going to show us around and to see how wine is bottled, how wine is cultivated, how wine is produced, because sometimes we don't appreciate the labor that goes into producing such a delicacy. So here we are at the Meridiana. I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this day, literally months I've been dealing with obviously Ingrid, so now is the day and hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Headshots for your LinkedIn profile. Let's try some here. Maybe next to a bar. Honestly, Miruzzi, I think it's been up now. I don't think very wine statey.
Not very nice. Because you can't be super sexy here.
You can't,
But
you
I
can
want
always
so
try.
bad, I can't.
Do cats bother you?
Huh?
Do cats bother
Not at all. Stefan loves cats. He has two cats.
I have
Oh, I love cats.
the queen of Meridiana who is on her throne.
Really?
And she's a
Oh,
she,
how
so she's
sweet.
a little bit, but the one outside, he's super friendly,
Okay.
super cuddly.
No.
You see?
Oh,
Look what we have. huh?
Stefan, look.
The queen on her throne.
Oh, sweet.
And the poor chap is outside. I can't have two cats inside. No.
Look how it was.
Not all guests are in favor of having maybe. And the first plantings took place in 1994, 1995. But only after we were sure that the land was safe from any World War II remains. Why? Because this land served as a military airbase during the Second World War. So it was heavily bombed. And it was a good thing that we brought in the army men because they found two unexploded bombs just 30 centimeters beneath the surface of the soil. They were very intact, rusty, they couldn't detonate them on site, so they decided to block the traffic from here to the Grand Harbor and they dumped them far out at sea. It was then safe to plant the vines. And they planted the Chardonnays for the white, the Cabernet Sauvignon, the Merlot, the Syrah. This is the only building we found on the land. When we acquired the land, this was the only building. I'll show you outside.
It's still here?
Yes, that served as a control tower during the war.
Okay.
So, it's like a historical site, you could say. So this was the
this
control
part.
tower. This part.
All
You
right.
can see the difference in the stone slabs because way back during those times they used to use larger stone slabs. Then afterwards, we started the building. They started working on it early 90s. Obviously, the technique, like the stone, was different. So we can see the difference in the stone, and they extended the building to resemble a typical Maltese farmhouse. So this is a typical Maltese farmhouse. We say that in Malta we have the farmhouses, we have the villas in Italy, we have the chalets in France, and we have
our own
farmhouse to
farmhouse.
boast about. And a typical characteristic, the main feature would be the courtyard,
The courtyard,
and
yes.
all the rooms leading to it. So during the hot stifling months, the rooms are nice and cool. Okay, So this is very important.
Good.
The only thing we don't have is a swimming pool here.
Swimming pool.
I always tell the boss. Swimming pool.
Please put.
Our desk would be close to the swimming pool.
So if you're Mr. Boss, so if you're watching this episode, please try and put a
one
swimming
day
pool here, and we'll come and
a
film
little-
as well.
We'll come and spend the whole weekend
Sipping wine.
Sipping wine.
by the pool.
So
by the
please take
pool.
note, all right? Thank you.
He's going to kill me.
And he's gonna sue me.
So let's visit the presentation.
Okay, so now here is where it gets interesting.
And it's cooler.
Ah, okay, good. So these are all filled with wine.
Where the
No.
the hatch is open, no, but they're quite empty because we will have to make room for the new vendemmia.
So I want to go inside and swim in wine.
So, as we said upstairs, we start with the whites. Okay, so we harvest the whites, and they use the press. Inside,
Gently?
Gently.
Okay.
It's we refer to it's like a rugby ball. We say inside. It's a pneumatic press. So just imagine a rugby ball. It is filled with compressed air, and it presses the grapes gently to the sides of the press. Okay, and the juice comes out through tiny holes. We collect the juice, and the juice is shifted to the tanks assigned for that particular variety. And then it would be for the rosé, so we said the red grapes, particular grapes, for example, the 2019 vintage, the rosé, we decided to use the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Syrah. Okay, because it can vary in varieties, the rosé. And then they will work on harvesting the red grapes. So in each and every case, the juice is shifted to the tanks. Then the yeast is added. It's artificial yeast, and it's different yeast depending on the variety, so we cannot use the same yeast. Now there is the yeast present on the grape itself in the field, but it is not enough to kickstart fermentation, so that is why he will add yeast. So fermentation, and when fermentation is over, then you have the whites and the rosé ready in the tanks.
How do you identify the time that it's going to be bottled?
So that is the winemaker's department,
All right.
but the vintages are always, so if we're in 2020, it's the 2019 for the tank fermented wines, the whites and the rosé. The reds we have 2017. So obviously when stocks start to dwindle, for example, by March, April, during that time, he will think about releasing the next lot. So it would be the following vintage. It would be the 2020, because we're 2020 for the whites and the rosé, and it could be then releasing the 2018 and 19 for the reds. There's a whole process.
And even not just the bottling, the bottle has to be sterilized, it has to be...
Of course.
There is a long
Yes.
process.
The good thing about it is this is the only estate on the island. By an estate we mean that everything is controlled here, from the planting of the vines up to the selling of the wine. So we have, the vine surrounding the building, the winery. And then you have the bottling is here, the cellar is here, and now with this new extension we'll have the labeling, because presently it is not done here, it is done in another store, but we'll have everything done here.
That's
So
really
the
nice,
labeling and the store and everything. So it's from A to B. It's a
How
whole
nice it
process.
is. You can actually follow
I
the
am-
grape.
I am
So
thinking
from
of
the
something.
vine to the bottle.
There are wines in cartons. I mean, I don't normally buy those. Normally we buy bottled wine. Obviously, in a cart, it lasts less than a bottle,
Yes, you
right?
have to consume it within.
Within.
A short period of time. For me, an elegant wine would be even having the cork. Now, I'm not saying that screw caps are not, but for me, when you feel that plop as well, you have the cork, it's elegant. It's nowadays they're using the screw caps.
Yes.
I mean, it's still
I mean,
beautiful wine.
they're much more convenient.
Yes, it's
But it's much
still
more,
nice
it's
wine,
much
but
more
it's
romantic
elegant,
and
yes,
elegant
you
with the
have
cork.
Not when you
the
break
cork.
it though, I always manage
And
to
for
break it.
us, since our wines benefit from further bottle aging, so if you purchase a bottle of red wine, if you store it in the right conditions, right temperature, not in the sun, so like under a staircase or a cellar, whatever, the cork allows it to continue breathing and ages the wine.
okay.
If you have a screw cap, it's like you're sealing.
Nothing
no
will.
oxygen can flow because then you have the capsule which is pricked and the cork which is a living thing. So oxygen enters and it ages the wine gracefully.
So if you have a bottled wine with cork, you leave it there, it keeps on aging. The one with the cap, no.
Because
There isn't any air,
there's no
so you have to
air.
consume it, otherwise it will turn into vinegar.
It will indicate on the label. You'll have the indications how long you can store the wine.
It's interesting,
So
I mean,
let us imagine that we're the red wine. So from here we'll go down to the cellar. It's a spiral staircase, so
all right,
the famous Gardner.
all right. I remember this when I came.
So it's nice and cool.
Should I close the door?
Yes, please, Stefan.
Very welcoming.
I love it. It's like going into a dungeon.
Oh, this man.
Stefan, I need a photo shoot here.
I love this man.
Everything is perfect. When there's...
Is it as you imagined?
I've been here, but not detailed. But I never thought of the process of how the white wine, the rosé, is produced. There's much more. Now,
I mean, if the winemaker had to talk, it would be our boss. They would talk on end.
now that I
They
go,
would talk
It's
on
very
end.
interesting.
They would talk on end. But there's so much to say.
now I appreciate more wine.
Exactly. When you go to buy a bottle of wine, we have this one. It's when you know the story and the process behind it, it makes it more
If you've been to a
meaningful.
winery, you can say, yes, now I can picture everything. You can imagine the harvesters early in the morning cutting the grapes. And then you can imagine the pressing. Sometimes they say, do we press the grapes? We say, yes, but pedicures before.
That's how they used to do
But
it.
they still do it or no? No.
I don't think it's allowed. They
Emma.
wanted before, that's how.
Emma,
That's how they, yes.
but abroad, I think there are some
France.
certain.
In certain regions, maybe. In certain
France,
regions.
France, I believe.
And it's like an
My God,
attraction as well. It's
I
like an
wouldn't
attraction.
imagine. I mean, drinking after a man's.
It was done like that even in Slovakia. In all the movies, you always see the women in a barrel with the bare feet doing
And
But a woman is okay.
and sex. I
they
mean,
have the,
you know how they used to
medical
dress, like
skills.
sexy
Yes,
outfits.
The Italians going like
Yes,
very much so.
True. So,
Let's take
a
some
few
photos.
Yes.
The double walls and the arches, and it's very humid as well. So I'm very sorry. You coughed the last minute.
Sorry?
But you coughed the last minute, but this I can't stop it. For
Wait,
sure.
the mic's on
Because
there, she
At least
said.
I can't be blamed for it, which is
We
good.
need to keep the temperature, the right temperature.
yes.
And we can't afford to have a dry cellar, because if we had a dry cellar, then the wood dries out, it cracks, and we lose wine through evaporation. Okay? The temperature is ideal. It's like 14, between 14 and 16, and it's the ideal temperature to serve and store the red wine. Okay? Occasionally the winemaker has to check the barriques, because if wine does evaporate, we say it is the angel's share, their share. It has to stay topping up the barriques to the brim because otherwise it will oxidize. Okay. During this time of the year, he also wets the barriques. He literally wets the barriques to keep them nice and moist.
Alright.
And we use French oak barriques. We don't dispose of them because we have a list of clients wishing to purchase a barrique, for, as bistro tables, using them, as chairs or converting them into, shelves with wines and what's not. So we have quite a demand. We also use them ourselves for planting purposes, decorative purposes and bistro tables on the terrace. So we don't discard them, they come in pretty handy.
Does anyone use brand new barrels?
Yes, we get them from abroad. So we get them from the owner of the estate, who is Marchese Antinori of Tuscany. The estate Meridiana was co-owned by two gentlemen previously, the Maltese businessman, Mark Micheli Farrugia, and Marchese Antinori. They were partners. But since then, Mark retired, so it was like, 50 Maltese, 50 Italian. But we always retained our Maltese identity. Since then, Mark retired a few years ago, and he sold his shares to the Marchese, knowing that we would be in very good health. Marchese is famous the world over. He has estates all over Italy, then he has in Hungary, he has in the Napa Valley as well, he has this Meridiana. But as we said, we don't promote each other's wine. We retain
Ours
Maltese
locally,
wine.
exactly.
We will not promote their Italian wines, they will not promote our wines.
And
So
with- and-
each and every estate, handling and promoting.
And
their
which wine
wines.
is his favorite? Is it the Maltese wine?
Our wines are pretty nice.
No, he says that our wines are nice.
Yes.
Good.
Listen, the winemaker will all the time in contact and sending samplings abroad. I mean, they have their
Exactly, I
winemakers.
imagine.
When I go to a restaurant, I normally, you get the wine menu and you see I normally tend to buy a local wine. It's much more.
It is not as it used to be in the past. In the past we could not boast of having quality wines.
Yes,
Nowadays, yes, wineries are producing not only us, but they're producing some
Exactly.
beautiful wines. But in the past, no.
because like
We used to have, let us say, the Blanc wine. So we used, the tendency was purchasing Italian wine, French
good
wine, if you had to give a present, you say, it's French, you buy foreign wine. But not anymore, it goes back.
Certain wine butters are much more expensive than the other. What makes it expensive? I mean, you leave it there to ferment more, the type of
It depends.
grain.
It's also economies of scale. For example, let's say here Meridiana. Okay, our wines are not amongst the cheapest of the wines. If you can, for example, produce, thousands of bottles of wine, okay, like the costs are. But if you have a small winery, everything is bought in from abroad, like bottles, like corks, like capsules, labels.
So that's the price.
There are the minimum numbers to order. And then obviously, like you have the foreign wines, then you have the particular label. These, I would say, is like the designer clothes. I mean, if you have a designer, it costs so much. If you have, not. So it also depends on the winery, the label.
Oh, interesting.
It is interesting.
So here only red wine.
Red wines only.
Comes down here because
Okay.
you said white and rosé remain in the stainless steel tanks.
Stainless steel.
Alright,
upstairs.
good.
So a lot ask this question: how do you bring down the barriques? They say from the
From
corridor.
the
Ah,
We have a service lift that is
Alright.
only used. That is only used for the barrels. They bring them down empty. They will stack them when empty because they're around 50 kilos in weight when empty. So they can stack them manually. And then by gravity, by pumps, they will fill the barrels.
okay.
Yes. We're cool enough Can
Yes.
you bear the heat
Of course.
upstairs?
Definitely.
Mr.
But now we're
Producer,
going to
you
the
go.
terrace.
Good, okay. Nice. Thank you.
Just take my bag.
Mind your head. And we are actually. Oh, how sweet. You know, I always thought that wine was preserved in the same barrel. Now, that is quite some. Ooh, oh God. Oh,
Yes, but unfortunately, I mean, if you would like to stay inside, but the beauty is on
No.
the terrace. But if you would like to stay here, I mean, we can pull up
Huh?
chairs.
it's better outside.
What do you think?
Yes, we go outside and take some.
So,
Oh,
It's nice in here, but you're ruining the view.
Yes.
whenever you want, you can shift it.
yes, please. Thank you. Oh, how sweet.
It is hot, but it is absolutely lovely.
I know it's boring, but it's so
Steph,
much
take me a
nicer here.
photo.
Sorry? You won't see the background though very
Huh?
much because it's too sunny. It will be overexposed. A bit.
Oh. We try?
It'll be overexposed.
Okay.
Because we are in the shade and the background is
All
sunny,
right.
so I can try to do later with a flash. Maybe that's gonna work.
Okay.
It is like
And the air conditioner was called Stefan. There was only that there was a label on it.
Yes. So let me explain the 4 wines you're going to taste.
All right.
Then you have the cheese and salami peppers, and you can enjoy.
Nice.
Relax.
Nice.
Take as many photos as you like, whatever. So, the Chardonnay is, as we said, the flagship of the company as regards to the white wine.
Mhm.
It is the 2000 and don't take any notice of the label because the recent ones are the 2019, both of them, because they are enjoyed when young. So obviously the latest vintage. This has 12.5% alcohol, all right? It's an elegant white wine, socializing white wine. It's a lovely with the grilled fish. The character is that of the lovely pineapples and grapefruit. It's very
Oh, lovely.
exotic in taste, okay? It also has that long mouthfeel, meaning that the taste lingers on your mind. When you get used to it, you will be able to detect from another Chardonnay.
Chardonnay.
That is, for example,
Good.
the Chardonnay. The sommeliers, they can do it, without even having to, check the labels, whatever. And then you have the rosé. So this is the wine which we said, the red grapes.
Mhm.
To use the rosé, and you can see how pale it
Pale,
is,
yes.
as opposed to the deep ruby color of the reds. For the 2019, we chose to use the variety, the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Syrah.
Mhm.
We say that it is a pool wine, enjoyed, by the sea, barbecues, al fresco, and it has the lovely taste of strawberries. Okay, that is lovely. For example, with a plate of pasta with shellfish. That would be really nice. I'm sorry I don't have these types of food. I mean, I only have the cheese and salami, but just to give you an indication. Which type of food, because wines and food, they go together, each enhancing the character.
Oh, yes.
And
of the
at
other.
least people know nowadays that the white one is with fish, the red one is much more with
Those are recommendations in the cases, but nowadays you can combine as long as you're happy with it. Normally it's supposed to be, what you are, you have the menu, you know what you're going to eat, and you try and adapt the wines to the food because, they will complement each other.
Enhance the
But
flavor.
for example, you can have a lovely fish, for example, our typical fish, the lampuka, but not with a lot of sauces. And that's simple.
simple and with red wine.
For example.
I mean, at the end of the day, you are your own boss.
Exactly,
So if I am much more of a red wine person, but I love all types of wine, so I'm super excited to be tasting it. But at the end of the day, always choose red wine when I go and buy.
If you're happy,
That's it.
Okay, very good. I managed to do one Clintess because it's it's a bit tricky. You need to get flash so you can see the person in the background.
Oh, nice. I love it.
Because if you don't look, you just get that basically. So
I
you
love
need
it.
flash.
Yes.
It's quite a cute one, and it's not, and it's very natural. I'll show you who you remind me of today.
Because he told me I reminded him of Jurassic Park.
No, not the dinosaur.
honey.
No, the lady from there. She looks like that.
The lady.
I know, I was just...
Jurassic World. What was
Jurassic-
her name?
Ruined it, tara ħasra. Don't
You
you
were wearing the same outfit.
think? The big
Really?
guy ruined it.
I mean, when I chose this outfit, I said this is definitely for the wine tasting.
It
Yeah,
is a
it's
nice
really-
outfit.
Tasting
It's
the
really-
wine
yeah.
tasting.
Did you get your... It's interesting, gosh.
Oosh.
حسب المزلايت it ruined the view of the...
Claire, okay. Because you will really
Yeah,
think that
haven't
yes, I am like her. Look, come on, Ueya.
Oh God, I don't
Anna,
like
yeah.
her.
No?
Oh my god, Vera.
Don't you think?
Oh my god, Vera.
I was like, when I see you, I was like, you just need
That's a
dinosaurs
compliment,
behind you
that.
and a beefy hunk,
It
and
is.
that's what you need. But no?
It's a compliment, not an insult.
Of course,
You
she's funny.
heard my photographer. I need a beefy,
Beefy hunk?
shall I repeat
And
it
a
again? A
dinosaur.
beefy
Beefy hunk. Like
Beefy.
Chris Pratt,
hunk. Like who?
Chris Pratt.
Yes, or else
Jurassic
Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth, yes.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yes, Hafna. Or the Hemsworth
Who
brothers.
would be your ideal beefy hunk?
Chris Hemsworth.
Huh?
I love him. When I saw him watch Thor, I fell in love. I prefer Chris than Liam.
This
Look
is
how
the
nice
one
this
that
came
was,
out now.
that was like a...
In Thor, it's
Thor.
much more. Yes.
The atmosphere.
It's beautiful.
The atmosphere is
The
really
photos before we touch it.
Yes, of course.
Nice. I love the chair.
You know, if you tell me, what do you prefer? A piece of meat or chicken or this? I tell you
Yes,
this.
for sure.
It is,
Definitely.
it is nice.
Yes.
Coming up next on The Real World of the Clintess.
We should also film the episode in USA in the future.
This is season 1. Stefan.
You
Stefan.
are still filming, correct?
Yes.
So the people that are going to
Yes,
watch
this is episode 1.
are going to experience you drinking wine.
My producers and my photographer. I'm so happy to have you in my life. So cheers to that.
Thank you.
Cheers to many,
Saha.
many more.
Yes, for sure.
It smells nice, actually.
It's very tasty.
I used to be really into wines, but then I just stopped.
See? I hope it doesn't happen to me ever.
Months before his birthday, he would have reached 85. So, age, life is how you live it. Some say, I have even friends of mine who, like, when they reach 30, they lock themselves. It's very stupid, huh? And I'm not ashamed of saying to them that it's stupid. It was hot. The wig was literally, obviously underneath here I have a net. Obviously it was, you have to keep on like your pose, like smiling to that person. And deep down I am dying, I want to go home.
Legs of the wine or the tiers of the wine, the closer the arches are together, the higher the alcohol content is. And we get guests, tourists. So apart from the tiers or the legs, they say arches, they say church windows. So we have an infinite
Interesting.
You know, I never knew that. I never,